Okay.
Okay. I think now we can start our session by reviewing our previous session. In the previous session, in the last day of the week, we started the new module number 6. And this is dedicated for the laws and regulations. In laws and regulations, we went through the some important concepts as forensics, as e-discovery, and we highlight the importance of these two, especially some of them they fulfill the subpoena or whatever any cases required. When this, it will be a matter of laws and regulations. And when it comes to laws and regulations, we don't have any options. We have to comply with the requirements and provide it on the right time, especially when we have e-discovery and we have forensics and we have to provide the chain of custody and all this stuff. We also highlight that it is very recommended to start our exercise based on the standards as ISO 2705 or CSA guidelines, which we are highlight the best practices for the privacy and how we can protect the privacy. Also, we highlight some important challenges for the e-discovery and for the forensics. Number one, that the data, it is very huge size. It is distributed across multiple data centers. It's not easy to know where is the location of the data exactly. Also, you don't have access for the infrastructure, especially if you have SaaS or PaaS service. Then you have to work very close with the cloud service provider to provide you required data. And we mentioned it is very important to mention whatever any detailed information required in a service level agreement between you and the cloud service provider. If there is any e-discovery requirement or whatever, then how long it will take, who will be responsible for what, how the data it will be provided, how the chain of custody it will be handled, what will be the cost, as we mentioned that sometimes there may be need storage for the data, which it can reach up to terabytes, and this it will be considered as a huge amount. And if you are follow the payment by the pay as you go, then this it will be very costly. Then you have to figure out a way for the fees of the e-discovery data storage or the forensic data storage. When we start to explain the privacy as issues, we said that there are two different types of PII, and you have to understand the difference between both of them, contractual and regulated. Contractual, these are the information which are mandated for protection and they are classified as sensitive and personal information by the organization, and based on the contract and the SLA, you have the cloud service provider, we have to provide the appropriate security controls for it. The regulated BII, sorry, this it will be classified by the laws and regulations, and whatever any violations with the regulated BII, then this means that you will be subject for fines, and in some situation or some jurisdictions, it can be a criminal and jail. This information like the BHI, which is protected health information. And of course, in America, HIPAA law across the United States protect this type of information, privacy information for patients, for any stakeholders involved in this process. This data, it should be protected and considered as personal data or privacy data. And we mentioned that we have laws different per each jurisdiction. For example, in United States, we have the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA. You may have the, and this, of course, it will be dedicated for protecting the privacy data for the financial personnel who are dealing with financial institutions. You have SOX, which is Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and this is not for protecting privacy or IT security, but it is indirectly protected because it regulates the financial practices used by the financial institutes. Also, of course, in United States, you have HIPAA, HIPAA, which is the act for protecting the health data and information for patients. In European Union, we have well-organized privacy laws, and of course, the most popular law now it is the GDPR. GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulations, and this law, it was announced in 2016, and now it is considered as one of the top laws, or frankly speaking, even I cannot say one of the top laws. From my point of view, I see that this is the only a framework for protecting privacy data, and as you can see, if you have some information about the privacy laws for different countries, that they are derived from this law. Of course, we can understand that all these laws, we want to protect the privacy data, protect its confidentiality, integrity, privacy, availability, and so on. These are the main concepts, and these are the main target for protecting the data. This was a quick summary for the session which we highlighted last week. Do you have any questions before starting our session today?
No, I don't have from my side.
Okay, excellent. Then let's start our session for the today. And today, gentlemen, we will start with a very interesting topic. This, it will be the standard privacy requirements, or some laws for privacy requirements. And these are the rules which it will allow you to protect your data, privacy data, based on the best practices. The first law is the ISO 27018, and this it's related to privacy involving in cloud computing, or let's say it as cloud computing privacy. Usually, gentlemen, in all these laws and regulations, this, of course, it's not law and regulation. This is standard. You know that in ISO, we are not developing laws and regulations. We are developing standard. We have some principles. We have principles. What are these principles? We have in the 2718 standard 5 principles. Number 1, it is communication. What is communication? Communication, this means that you have to explain to the users what are the processes which it will be utilizing their information or personal information. This is number one. Number two, any events that could impact the security and the privacy of their data. Of course, in laws and regulations, yani GDPR, for example, they mandate 27 hours. Within 27 hours, you have to report the data breach to the authority. Otherwise, you will be against, you will not be complying with 2000 with GDPR, and this it will be you may be subject for any fine. Okay. Principle number two, which we call it consent, which we call it the consent. What is the consent? The consent that this is explicit approval by the cloud customer that the cloud service provider, we can use their information in any other activities rather than the ones which were collected for. Suppose that we want to make some studies, we want to send advertisings, we want to make some marketing, whatever, then we are not allowed to use this data except if they send the user and ask them, please, we want to do this exercise. Do you agree about that? If he said, yes, I agree, and he gave the consent, then they will be able to utilize this data without any problems. Number two, three, of the principles of the privacy, the control. Users must have full control on their data, where we can update it at any time, or even we can delete it at any time without any questions. If I want to delete it, please delete it. I don't want to know why will you delete the data. It's not my problem. It's up to you. If you want to delete it, you have the right to do it. Principle number four, it is transparency. And of course, transparency, as we mentioned, that the cloud service provider or the data controller, they have to provide what are the processes which it will use the user's data, and we have to explain it to them very clearly. Final principle is the independent yearly audit. It is very important that you will have, as you can see here, gentlemen, when he said independently, and this means that it will not be acceptable that we will do audit, internal audit, for example. This it will not be acceptable. They have to make independent yearly audit, and this can be by a third party, which we don't have any conflict of interest between the auditor and the cloud service provider. This is the first law. This first standard. This is the first standard, which is the ISO 27018.
Sir, why is that they are saying a yearly audit? Shouldn't be actually, whenever there is a change in the environment, the audit has to be done. I mean to say, in case if there is a merger or if there is a demerger.
Of course, I can understand this. I can understand this. Usually, we are saying yearly, or if there is any major changes. But of course, we will not be able to control the major changes. What is the definition of major changes? When we make it very clear, yearly audit. Because these major changes, we must have a lot of conditions. What does it mean? When this, it will be confusing, and this it will add a headache and burden on the cloud service provider. When it is mentioned that it will be yearly. Even if there is any major changes, it will be included in the next audit cycle. The second standard, it is the generally accepted privacy principles. What are the principles which are generally accepted for privacy? Usually this is called GAPP standard. And it is developed by American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. And this, of course, as you can see, American Institute plus the Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountants. Of course, you can see here that it is related to the accountants, and it is integration between two different countries, Canada and America. This standard, we have 10 privacy principles. 10 privacy principles. It is not as the ISO 27018, which it has 5 principles only. We have 10 privacy principles and 70 privacy objectives. Gentlemen, this in some situation it may be as a question in the exam. Frankly speaking, I recommend that you will know these numbers. Although it may not be important, but you may find something which it will be useful if you know this information, then to figure out the right answer for one of the questions. For example, we can understand in GAPP we have 10 privacy principles. In 27018 we have 5. We have here 70 privacy objectives and so on. What are these objectives for? What are these principles? Principles of GAPP. Usually you will find it the same. And believe it or not, gentlemen, it will be almost the same as GDPR as well. Also, GDPR, it is for European Union, and this one, it is developed for Canada and America, but by the end of the day, privacy is privacy, it is the data. Principle number 1, it is the management. What do you mean management? Management here that you must the organization must have clear documents, reviews. We must have clear policies for the privacy, and this data, it should be communicated for the stakeholders and interested parties. When this, it is the exercise of each organization which they should do for privacy. They must have a privacy policy, make it available. If you need more information about it, then any interested person, he will be able to communicate and get this information. The second principle, it is notice. And this notice, gentlemen, it is very important. And I don't know if you note it or not. Whatever any site you will log in on www.microsoft.com, cisco.com, email, gmail.com, whatever, you will find in the footer of the website, you may find privacy notes, notice. Whatever, any website you must find something like that. Yani, let me, for example, try to show it to you. If I want to share the screen, and I will open the browser, and let's say here, for example, www.microsoft.com. Whatever, any website, but here by the end of I don't know if you are able to see.
No, I think we are not seeing. We are seeing the book
okay.
only.
Yeah,
Yeah, book.
I am using the second screen. Okay. Here you look here. That's it. That's it. When you will click on it, privacy, you will find what is the data which it will be collected, how the personal data it will be collected, and why it is collected, how what are the rules of sharing personal data, how to access your personal data if you need it, and how to update it. Then you will find here the notice to end users. This is the notice which I am telling you that it is one of the principles required by the sites, and so on. Then these are the mandatories required by each one of them. This is the whatever any site, they will have the same concept, and they will have this notes. Then, as we highlight that, what are the principles? Number one, you have the management. Number two, you have the notice. Number three, you will have choice and consent. This means that the users, they have to, you must have the choice if they want to share their information for any processing or not. This is based upon their opinion. And by the way, if they refuse to provide their personal data, this does not mean that they are not allowed to use the service. No. Service usage, it is not related at all here. Even if I said no, I'm not interested in process my data, this does not mean that they will tell you sorry, I will not provide you the Office 365. No, this is again is below. Even if I don't want to share my personal information, it is not your right to disable the service from me. It's my right to utilize the service, even if I'm not interested in share my personal information. Number four, it is collection, data collection. It is the data collection, the personal data which it will be collected. It should be mentioned and clarified to the user, and usually they have to define why did they use it. For example, gentlemen, if we will take the scenario of IT certificates, I will tell you, okay, gentlemen, what I need to collect from your site. I want to collect the email. I want to collect the mobile number. And I want to collect the name. Why? This to print certificates. Mobile number, because I want to add you into the WhatsApp group, and all my communication, it is through WhatsApp group. Then if I want to update you with any data, courses, information, whatever is, this it will be through the group, and this means that I have to utilize your mobile number. Finally, the email. Why? Because if I want to send you any emails, or if I want to send you documentations, or if I want to send you the attendance certificates or whatever, then it should be through the emails. Then these are the data which I require. I have to mention what are the data which I require and why do I require. I am not authorized to collect any other data without any clear consent from you. For example, I'll tell you, gentlemen, I want, for example, to collect your home address. For example, why? Because we have a new service that I want to print some invoices and send it to you by email. By mail. Then it's your right to say yes or no, and you have to understand this. It will be the piece of information which you have to provide it to me later. Principle number 5, it is the use, retention, and disposal. As we mentioned, the use, we explained the use, retention, and disposal. Usually, we are saying that the personal data, it should be reside in our system for a specific time, which it will be enough for our processes. After that, this, and of course, I have to define it to you, for example, 3 years, 5 years, and so on. I have to be very clear and clarify this for you. After these 5 years, what should I do with this data? This data, it should be deleted. Then how this will be deleted? Then what will be the disposal? And of course, as we mentioned, gentlemen, before, in the disposal, we have different methods of disposals. We can have hardware, what we can say, that with destructive hardware devices, or degaussing, or encryption of data, or override the data, and so on. Then we have to clarify this very clear for the user, and for how long the data it will be retained, and after the retention period is expired, what will be the method for the disposal of the data. Principle number 6, access, where the user must have full access for the collected data, to change it, to keep it updated, to delete it, whatever. He must have full permission to do this exercise himself. Number 7, it will be the disclosure for third parties. Data, it should not be shared with third party without user consent.
Sir, I think someone is, Ankur is waiting to join the class, but he is unable to join. Can you check the group, in the WhatsApp group? He is
I don't have anyone in the group. No, he did not log in.
No, he has messaged in the WhatsApp, sir.
Okay, but I don't have anything here in the group in front of me. Then this means that he is using a wrong invitation.
Okay.
When we organize the disclosure of third parties, no discussions. No discussions. You are not allowed to share the personal or privacy data with any third parties without the user consent. That's it. Okay. Principle number 8, it is security for privacy. What is security for privacy? To protect the data. I collect your data. Then this means that you must provide the security controls and measures to ensure its confidentiality, integrity. You have to protect it. This is my expectations from you. My expectation as a user from the organization or controller who collect my data. Principle number 9, it is the quality. Data quality. Data quality, of course, data quality, it is from 2 different sides, gentlemen. This point, frankly speaking, I like to have a look on it from a different perspective. Quality from point of view of controller, and quality from the user. Quality from the controller, that he have to protect the data, we have to protect the integrity, have to protect confidentiality. When this, we are protecting its quality. From the other side, the user, we have to update their data to be that they will be able to update their data to be able to update their data. Otherwise, it will not be updated. For example, they change their email. That's fine. Then I have to update the email. If I change the mobile number for any reason, I change the service provider, and I change the mobile number, then it will be better to update the phone, and so on. I can see that someone is trying to log in, but again, gentlemen, I don't have anyone in front of me in the connection.
No. I think, sir, I think you have locked the meeting. If you could just unlock it, I think he will be able to join.
I locked the meeting? Why?
Yes. Because that's what he's sending the message actually in the group, that the meeting has been locked.
You are right, by mistake. I locked it. Then I really appreciate, Brim, if you can send him, let him to log in now. Yes, mistake while I was trying to enable the share from other participants. I locked it by mistake. Okay. Thank you, Brim. The last yeah, he joined now. Last principle from the GBAA, it is monitoring and enforcement. You are not monitoring and enforcement. Monitoring and enforcement, this it is again very important point where we users, the cloud service provider, we have to monitor the controls and make sure that it is working correctly and it's achieving its objectives to protect the data privacy. This is the GBAA standard. This is GBAA standard. Last standard which we will discuss today, it is the privacy. Sorry, gentlemen, not last standard. I mean, we finished the standard. So we will discuss something very important, which it is a mandatory part in GDPR as well. It is the privacy impact assessment. It is very, and even we are calling it as well BIA. It is very simple, gentlemen. This is a type of analysis or assessment and of course, it is conducted by the organization which is collecting the data and to make sure that they are capable to protect this data or not. And this is mandatory by the authorities. And of course, with data, if it is breached or lacked or whatever, then they will be subject for penalties. And as we mentioned, in some jurisdictions, they may be subject for jail as well. They will be subject for jail as well. These are the points related for the privacy in this section. Then let me summarize this module for you, gentlemen, for the privacy. For the module number 6 for laws, regulations, and authorities. First, we spoke about the e-discovery. We spoke about the forensics. We spoke about the data privacy and how to protect the data, and we spoke about some standards. Then we spoke about the challenges, and these are the points which are covered so far till this moment. Also, we discussed some types of reports. I think we covered the reports. Am I right? Or this it will be covered today? I'm a little bit confused. I think that will be covered today. SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3.
No, we haven't covered. We will cover it today.
Then this it will be today. Okay. We will cover also some very interesting type of reports, and you will find that they are very easy. Very easy. Because, gentlemen, as I told you, privacy and laws and regulation, it's not complicated. It's very clear. There is no chance for misleading these questions. Everything, it should be clear. With laws and regulations, everything, it will be clear. In some situation, people, they are confused with the SOC reports. And when you will work together, I will put it to you in a simple table, and you will find that it is very easy to memorize the different types of reports and how we are working. Now we will discuss a very, very important topic related to the cloud service providers, laws and regulations, and all this stuff. What is it? It is audit, or audit processes, methodologies for a cloud environment. First of all, gentlemen, you have to understand what is the difference between internal and external audit. What is the difference between internal and external audit? The internal audit, this is the audit which it is conducted by the organization itself. I am a cloud service provider. I want to make sure that all the rules, processes, policies, procedures, standards which are developed by the security team are implemented correctly. Then I have my internal audit department, and they arrange an audit and we checked it. What is the objective of this audit? And please understand what I am saying. It is very important. These are questions in the exams. These are questions in the exams. The audit of this, the objective of this audit is to understand if the rules, internal processes and policies are implemented correctly and appropriately, and it is consistently enforced over the whole infrastructure. Okay. Thank you very much. We are really happy. Management, we are happy. Management satisfied because we found that everything is great. This reason number one. Or we're still speaking about internal audit. Top management, they came and asked, gentlemen, are you GDPR compliant? Then we said we are not sure. Then the top management, they ask the internal audit, please do an audit to check GDPR compliance. Then it is not external audit. I will not get a report from the cloud service provider himself to say, yes, I am GDPR compliant, because I will not trust him. If he will do it for himself, then I will not trust him. But the management, we want to make sure that they are compliant. Why? Because they may want to get a third-party auditor or external auditor to do the exercise for them and provide them the certificate. Then they want to make sure that they did all the exercises correctly. Then when the auditor, he will come, we will pass the audit and we achieve the certificate. Then the internal audit, you have to be very, very, very clear about the objective of the audit. Objective of the audit. Why? Do you want to make sure that you are running your infrastructure based upon the configured processes and procedures standards driven by the organization? Do you want to make sure that the organization, it is GDPR compliant, HIPAA compliant, BCIDS compliant, whatever it is? Then you have to make very clear about the objective of the internal audit. These are the type of internal audit. When the internal audit, what is the objective? To confirm the security and best practices, implementation, and this, it will be satisfaction for the management. Satisfaction for the management. What about the external? And also, what is the objective? The objective here, gentlemen, for the internal audit to improve the service. Improve the service. It is very important to understand this, to improve the service. But what about the external audit? No, the external audit, it will be done by a third party. What do you mean by a third party? Any party which does not have any conflict of interest with this organization. They are not shareholders, they are not partners, whatever. They don't have any conflict of interest. Then, this means that we are coming to make sure we are compliant. In external audit, we want to make sure that we are compliant with some specific standard. GDPR, HIPAA, ISO 27001, ISO 22301, whatever it is. I don't have the intent in the external audit to improve the service. I don't care. I am external auditor. To improve the service or don't improve it, I don't care. This is not my problem. It's your problem. I am here to say that you are compliant or you are not compliant. That's it. You are compliant or you are not compliant. Then these are the differences between the internal audit and the external audit. This is very important to understand it. There will be some questions related to the difference between both of them. Okay? You have to understand in a cloud environment that we may have some impact of audit requirements. Why? In the audit requirements, we are saying we want to have the audit team on a location at the data center and physically on the network which we are scanning. In traditional data center, I don't have any problem. This is a piece of cake. I can put you in my data center. I can give you an access for my network and so on. But what about the cloud? Can I give you physical access to the network? To which data center? In some situation, cloud service providers, they may have over 150 or maybe more cloud data centers all over the world. Then this, it will not be easy. Also, it will not be easy to have a physical scan to the network. I will not have a physical scan. I will not be able to have a physical scan to the network. Also, the cloud, the auditor will not have the level of control or access over the physical environment. They will not be able to have it. This will be very critical because, you know, we have multiple tenants, so and so, it will affect the people and so on. Also, the geographical distribution of cloud environments, especially if we are speaking about the enterprise cloud environments. Enterprise cloud environments, they are understanding very well that they are serving users all over the world. When there are some data centers where the time it's 12 a.m. in some countries, it may be 12 p.m. in other countries. And I think our situation, it is one of the good examples which we can mention here. Now it is almost 8 p.m. in Saudi Arabia, but in your side it may be 12 p.m. Then this means that now I am preparing myself to close the day, but for you, you are in the peak of the day. Then these are the challenges and the impact of the cloud service providers audit requirements. Also, one of the main problems, gentlemen, if you want to make an audit for a server, this server must be tangible. I have a server, I checked it, thank you very much, I type my report. Believe it or not, gentlemen, in the cloud service provider, you may make an audit for a report, and after some time, this server, it will, this VM, it will be migrated into other host, or it may be shut down. Then again, this is normal. As operation, it is totally normal. And this is good. Why? Because this VM, this host, we faced a problem when it is migrated into other hosts, and maybe this host in other data center. Then thank you very much for virtualization. Thank you very much for high availability. I am really happy as a customer, but as an auditor, I am really upset because I am not sure that this server, which I checked now and I audited now, it is still available. Where is it? I don't know. It may be in the same data center. It may be in a different data center. I don't know. These are the challenges which we can face with the audit requirements. Okay. What are the assurance challenges of virtualization and the cloud? We have to identify. We identify some of them. For example, how to audit and ensure compliance without testing the entire environment. This is not easy, but we need it. Because as we mentioned, it is not easy, but by the end of the day, this is the real scenario. We have a lack of access to the physical environment within the cloud. We don't have any option. Then the auditor needs to have full and complete documentation as a source for the system and application architecture. This is easy, no problem. Of course, don't forget that this is an auditor when he is authorized to see all this information. But this information, if a cloud server, a cloud customer requires this information, cloud service provider, he will not provide it to him, and he is afraid that it will consider it as a risk, especially for the other tenants. Type. Okay, that's great. Then this means that I must have documentation for the application and system architecture. That's great. I can provide it to you. Also, the auditor need to have full access to the network. Okay, I can provide you the access. If it's remotely, okay, that's fine. It can be, I can disclose this information for the auditor. Then we point here that all these data which are exposed for the auditor, it is mandatory. Why? Because usually, gentlemen, if you are working with big organizations, when you will have direct interaction between your infrastructure and the partners, they are required to come and make audit to your network, to your security controls, and so on. But as we mentioned, it's not acceptable by a cloud service provider. Then how can I ensure that this cloud service provider is doing the exercise correctly based on the best practice and so on? Then this means that we have to provide me an evidence. This is what is this evidence? The evidence, it will be the report which it will be provided by the third-party auditor, or it can be certifications as ISO 27001 certified, 22301 certified, GDPR certified, CSA certified, and so on. Okay, then these are the importance of the external audits, because the external audit, look here at this external audit equal report. That's it. It is equal report. You have to take this report and provide it to your customer. Now, your customer, he came and asked, are you GDPR compliant? Yes. How do you prove it? This is a report which is done by KPMG, for example, consultant services, and we are saying that we are compliant. Okay, thank you very much. Then you are really compliant. Okay, then this, it will lead us to understand what are the types of audit reports. What are the types of audit reports? This is a very important topic, gentlemen, and I want your concentration. Although this is not the time for our break, but I will have the break now, 30 minutes earlier, because I want you to be very, very concentrating on these reports. It is very simple. These are guaranteed questions. There is no workarounds, but you have to understand it. You know, CCSB, the questions are, it's not memorization. It is to understand it. Then I want you now to have a cup of coffee. Don't sit in front of your PC, just move around. And I want to see you after 20 minutes to go through these type of reports. I'm quite sure that this it will be very easy. I will put it you in a very simple table, and this it will be your reference for the exam. Before going to the break, do you have any questions? Okay, no questions.
I'm good.
Okay. Then we will have 20 minutes break, and we will come back to start the part of the audit reports. Thank you. See you after the break. Thank you very much for your coming back, and now we will start the audit reports. The type of audit reports. Gentlemen, first audit reports type, it is called SAS, SAS 70. It is a statement on auditing standards. SAS 70. And it is developed by American Institute of Certified Public Accounts. And this standard, it is providing guidance for auditors how to analyze service organizations. How to analyze service organizations. It is very important, gentlemen, to understand that SAS, it is not used anymore. It's expired. SAS reports are not used anymore, but still they are included in the CCSB materials because we want to explain to you the history of the reports. What it says 70 and when it is changed into what and so on. Then we will not consider this in our practical life, but we will consider it in our exam. We will consider it in our exam. In SAS 70, we have two different type of reports. We have SAS 1, SAS type 1. And we have type 2. Type 1 report, it is focused on evaluation by the auditor on service organization declaration and the security control in place. Okay, then it will be evaluation by the auditor this it will be evaluation by the auditor on organization declarations and security controls in place. And effectiveness of design. Then, how many points do we have included in report number 1? We have evaluation by auditor on organization declaration. When the organization, we are saying we have so and so and so and so, when the auditor, he will come and check if they are saying the truth or not. Number 2, we security controls in place. When number 1, number 2. What is number 3? Effectiveness of design. And this is very important. Of design. Of design. Design of what? Of controls. Effective design of controls. The design. Why I am repeating design? You will understand when we will come to point number 2. Then, in type number 2, it is the same exactly as in type number 1. It is the same exactly as type number 1. But there is only one difference. What is it? This, it is the effectiveness of security controls. In place. Gentlemen, do you understand what is the difference between effectiveness of security control in place and effectiveness of design of controls in place? What is the difference between these two terminologies?
Effectiveness of design, and what is the other word? Effectiveness of?
Yes, one design, one effectiveness of security controls.
So, by the word design, I think effectiveness of design, I think you're looking at the architecture. How sound is that architecture? Whether it is doing the things correctly, and effectiveness of the security controls is like testing the controls, whether the control is really working or not.
Excellent. This is the right answer. Then these are the two types. Type number 1, it will be the design. As Brim, he mentioned that this, it will be based on the architectural design or whatever the objective. That I will have firewall, I will have so and so. Then when the auditor, he will come and check all these controls, if they are working correctly, if they are configured properly, if they are doing their exercises, if they are achieving their objectives, then this is what we will call it the effectiveness of security controls in place. Okay, these reports, gentlemen, are what we can say, it should not be provided in public. It will be provided to current customers and users only. But it's not in public. And usually when we will provide, the cloud service provider provide you these reports, they will ask you to sign NDA. Because there will be some, of course, here, just imagine effective of security control, when this means that you understood all the security controls which he have in his environment. This is, it will be very critical. This is very critical. Yeah. Okay. SAS 70, it is replaced by SSAE 16. This is another type of reports which we will discover within few seconds. Okay. They are not available. Please don't go to any cloud service provider and ask him for SAS 70 reports. But this, it is mentioned in the CCSP material because we want to tell you the history of the audit reports. Okay. The second type of the audit reports, it is the statements on standards for attestation engagement. SSAE. It's version 16. And by the way, SSAE 16, it's updated into SSAE 18 on May 2017. And according to my information, gentlemen, now we have SAS 20, not 18. Now we have 20, but this it's not mentioned in the material. This says 18, we are the reports, they are mainly developed to satisfy the regulatory requirements for example, SOX, financial regulatory requirements. Okay. SAS 70, it was known by service auditor examination. This type of reports, as we mentioned with the SAS 70, it was designed to audit the service organizations. It is called service auditors organization. When I tell you service auditor examination, this it is the SAS 70. SASE 18 or even 16 as well, it is called service organization control. SOC. I think SOC, you know, you hear this SOC. We have, gentlemen, SOC 1 report, SOC 2 report, SOC 3 report. What is the difference? Okay, what is the difference? This means that we have to split the page like that. And I don't know why it's doing this. I don't know why it is doing this. SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3. What is the difference? Okay. The difference, let's take it one by one. SOC 1, gentlemen, it is replacement for SAS 70 reports. Okay, this it is replacement for SAS 70 reports. Okay, good. And it is focused on financial reporting controls. Excellent. Financial reporting controls makes sense because we know that it's developed from this organization, which its name is the statement, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. When we know that this, it will be something related to financial people. Okay, that's fine. Good. Hey, so what? They are considered as restricted use reports. What do you mean by restricted use reports? This means that contains critical information. And as I explained now, if you will share it with your customer, they have to sign NDA. Okay? And it is not intended, or it is intended for a small and limited scope of controls. Let me type it for you. Intended for auditing small number of controls. Of course, controls, as we said, financial. We are not speaking about here financial. Okay, this is very clear. What are the important points which I want you to understand here for the exam? I will put it in red. Restricted use. And it is intended for auditing a small number of controls. Small number of controls. Who is the target or audience for these reports? I will explain it to you in a nice way, then you will not forget it. We have here cloud service provider. We have here auditor. The auditor, he is audit the cloud service provider. Then management of the cloud service provider, of course, we have to see these reports. And we are doing these reports for their customers. When clients, again, we are allowed to see it. And the auditors, we are allowed to see it. These are the audience. It is very simple information, but it is very important. These are types of exams. Okay, gentlemen? Did we finish SOC 1? No, we still have one very, very important point. What is it? I want to have it on the same slide, but I don't know how can I do it. Let me try something. We have in SOC 1 type 1 report and type 2 report. What is the difference between both of them? Type 1 report, gentlemen, it is checking effectiveness of controls. Checking effectiveness of controls at a specific time. What is a specific time? It is a time of audit, of course. At a specific time, this means that it is a time of the audit. I am the auditor. I came to make the report 1 when I am doing to check the effectiveness now. I want to check the firewalls. I want to check the security. I want to check logs and so on. Type what? Type 2. Type 2, this it is exactly the same, but for effectiveness of control, so and so, but for at least 6 months. This is the main difference with type 1 and type 2. When type 1, it will be utilized for a specific time. For type 2, it is for a period of time, 6 months before the audit period, for example. This is the SOC 1 report. Thank you very much. We really happy you finished SOC 1. What is SOC 2? SOC 2, easy. What is it? It is SOC 1 plus adding some other features. What are they? It is modeled around four other areas. SOC 2, it is modeled around 4 broad areas. What are these areas? What are these areas? Or these principles? We call it principles. Availability, confidentiality, integrity, privacy. These are the and security, gentlemen, and security. We are five principles. Let me type it for you. Confidentiality, integrity, availability, privacy, and security. These are the 5. Then it will do the same exercise as SOC 1 plus these 5 principles. Okay, great. Also, gentlemen, there is one important feature. When we are doing this exercise, the auditor's security, it is split into 7 categories. 7 categories? Yes. What are they? Change management. Two, it is physical access controls, physical and logical, not logical only, physical and logical access controls. 3, it is monitoring of controls. 4, it is organization and management. I will continue here, gentlemen, and I will tell you why I will continue here. We want to take this space. Number 5, it is the risk management. And control implementation, controls implementation. Number 6, it is system operations. These are the points which the auditor he will check. Then what he will check? He will check in SOC 2 the financial reporting controls, confidentiality, integrity, availability, privacy, and in security change management, physical and logical access, controls, monitoring of controls, organization and management, risk management, and system operations. These are which the author he will use. As you can see in SOC 2, it's a very rich report. Very rich report. Again, gentlemen, SOC 2, we have 2 different types. Type 1, type 2. Type 1 and type 2. What is the difference?
Oh, the type 1 is on the design of controls, and the type 2 is on the effectiveness of the controls.
Okay. System service. Do you think so, or it is for a specific period at this time and for 6 months?
Sorry, I think I didn't understand the question.
You remember when we mentioned in this slide that we have type 1 and type 2 controls in SOC 1, and we that it is related to a specific time. And
yeah, that's for 6 months.
Yeah, and 6 months. When this is type 1 and type 2, then it will be the same here.
Okay.
No, it is not okay. Gentlemen, take care. I am doing this because I want to confuse you. When you not forget this. what the answer which you highlight before, it was the right answer. And please don't be confused. Here, type 1, design of controls. Type 2, it is effectiveness of controls. Don't be confused. In the exam, for sure you will find some of these questions. This is a very simple question. Don't please confuse. When SOC 1, yes, in SOC 1, a specific time, periods. But SOC 2, it is overall. Okay? The answer which you highlight or you mentioned, Prem, it was the right one. Please don't be confused. It's very important, gentlemen. Type. Last type of reports, SOC 3. Gentlemen, SOC 2. One minute. One thing I want to mention here also before going to this report. The SOC 2, again, it is restricted use. SOC 2, it is restricted use. Okay? It is restricted use report. Fine. What is SOC 3? SOC 3 equivalent to SOC 2. But why we call it SOC 3? Because in SOC 2, we mentioned it is a restricted report. And what about SOC 3? SOC 3, it is public. SOC 3, it is public. Does not contain any sensitive information. I remember in my exam, gentlemen, I got this question. They mention you are a security professional and you are evaluating the cloud service providers. Then one of the points which you want to check, what type of control? SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3. What do you think? You're still evaluating providers. You want to check reports. Which report should you check? SOC 1, 3.
Since I'm evaluating the providers, I will have only SOC 3 as access.
Yes, this is the right answer. This is the right answer. It is very simple. If you are understanding the difference between reports, it is very simple. As you mentioned, yes, I don't have any access for unrestricted, for restricted. They will not provide it to me. I am not their customer. Of course, SOC 3, it will be available on the internet. I can download it. If it's public, I can download it. In the worst case, I can ask them to provide it to me. When this, it will be the report which I can utilize. Okay. We will speak about other type of reports. What is it? International auditing and assurance standards. ISAE. Gentlemen, ISAE equivalent to SOC 2. What is the difference? Only one difference. What is it? SOC valid in United States. This one, international. That's it. This is the only difference. This is the only difference. You know, this, it will remind us by what? Just in terminology to tell you the difference. When we are saying, I will put it in red because this is a different thing, but to give you the feeling to understand. When we are saying nest, and we are saying here NIST and the ISO. This it is valid in Saudi in America, the SOC, but international it is required ISAE. Okay. We have with the ISAE two types of reports. Here it will be confusing. Here it will be confusing. I will tell you, and I will tell you why it is confusing. ISAE, gentlemen, it is equivalent to what? SOC 2. Type. Where is SOC 2 here? Unfortunately, I don't have it. It is deleted, the slide. But SOC 2, you remember when we said what will be the difference? That as Brem he mentioned, design and type 2 effectiveness, right? Unfortunately, in ISAE, it is not the same. ISAE, this snapshot at a specific time, and this 6 months. And this is the point where it is confusing. People, they are really saying if it's ISAE, it is equivalent to SOC, then why it is having the types of the report of the SAS 70 or SOC 1? I don't know. This is the facts. These are the facts. We have to memorize it. You have to memorize. If you want to pass the exam, you have to memorize. Okay? We finalized the types of reports. It is done. How many reports do we have? We have the SAS 70 expired. We have ISAE type, which is the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, restricted, public, type 1, type 2, snapshot at specific time, 6 months. Then we have the sorry, no, this is not ISAE. This is what is the name? 1 minute. SSAE, yes. Then we have ISAE. The ISAE, this it will be the equivalent to SOC 2. The type, it is type 1, type 2, specific time, 6 months. Congratulations, we are done. We are done. Any questions?
A lot of memorizing.
Yes, I totally agree. But again, I will repeat total guaranteed questions. No play, no play around. What you will play around? The other questions I can play with scenarios, which it will confuse you. But here, I don't have any confusion. If you are memorizing it in a proper way, you will gain these questions. This it will be guaranteed questions. Okay. Now, gentlemen, don't forget that we are under the audit topic, which we started before the break. We mentioned that we explained the audit types. We said internal and external. Then we explained that the internal reports, I mean the external audit, it will generate a report for you. Then we highlight that, okay, let's understand what are the type of reports do we have. Now we will continue the audit topic. What are the restrictions of audit scope? What are the restrictions of audit scope? It is very important, gentlemen, as we agreed before. Everything you have to define the objectives and the scope. What are the audit scope statement? This is very important to clarify or define what the auditors shall exactly do and require as a part of the audit. What they have to do. Number one, we have to define the statement of purpose. Why you are doing this? You remember when I told you if it's internal, I may do this to ensure that all the services, it is compliance with the local laws and regulations, or maybe compliance with the organization policies, or maybe to check if we are GDPR compliant and so on. Then what is the statement of the purpose? Why? Why do I doing? In other words, it is the answer. Why do you want to do this audit? Number two, audit scope. Services. What are the services, systems, tools, applications, data, and so on? You have to define the scope. Number three, the audit, the goals. What are the goals of the audit or reasons of the audit? I want to make sure that the management oversight to the internal organization or compliance with regulations, or what is it? What is the goal? The goal that to discover that I am compliance, or I am not compliance, or I need what we can say, fine tuning, or whatever. Okay. Number three, audit requirements. What are the requirements? The audit requirement, this which we call it the tools and the technologies. If I want to do an audit, then I need tools and the technologies. Okay. Number five, deliverables. What will be the deliverables of the audit? Of course, gentlemen, the deliverables here, I don't have any option. The deliverable, it is a report. Come on, what the other deliverable may I have? But here, why we are mentioned deliverables, this is very important, gentlemen, because the deliverable here depends upon the objective, depends upon the audience of this report. If it's related to laws and regulation, they may have some standard format or structure which the auditor he have to follow. Then if it's related to a specific specific laws and regulations, they may have some format we have to, or structure of a report which we have to follow. Then this is we have to define. I want a report for GDPR compliance. GDPR compliance, then I must contain 1, 2, 3, 4 privacy data controls, PIA, which is privacy information assessment, and so on. Finally, audit classification. What do you mean by audit classification? Criticality, data criticality. Do we have any sensitive level and confidentiality requirement for this audit report or not? Okay. These are the components of any audit scope. It is very important, gentlemen, to include also if you have limitations or restrictions. I am not able to check this data because this data, it is hosted in another site which is outside the country, for example, whatever. Okay. Also, you have to define the location of the auditors compared with the devices which we are audit. I want the audit cloud service provider, when this means that for sure there are some devices which it will be remote and I have to check. And I have to take in my consideration the impact on the current system and operations. This is very important. This is very important, gentlemen. Don't ever, never arrange for audit in a peak time for operations, closing financial month, closing financial year, whatever. It will be a crisis for you. It will be a crisis. It will affect the performance, and sometimes it may affect the performance. Okay? Of course, gentlemen, after you make the audit, then you have to do the gap analysis. What is a gap analysis? The gap analysis that the auditors, we have to review the desired state. Suppose that I want to ensure that the organization, we are complying with all the internal processes, standards, and everything. Then what is the desired state? That I have to check the what are the standards, policies, and processes. Then the actual state or the current state, this which it will be detected from the audit. Gap analysis, compare desired to actual state. Any difference, it will be considered as findings, which it need action plan. This very simple information. This for the gap analysis. Any questions?
I'm good.
Are you still there, or I know the topic is
sir.
boring. I know it's boring, but gentlemen, this
Sir,
is
for me, it is not at all boring, because for me and Shubha, we are in compliance team for last 20 years. So this is a kind of a staple diet. We like this area much better.
okay, great. And by the way, this is, from my point of view, the easiest part of the exam. No tricks, no workarounds.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No workarounds. How you will play with those and regulations? No way.
No,
Okay.
I think I found actually a little bit tricky in the exam, I think on the GDPR questions only.
Do you have any example to share it with us?
Yeah, one example is basically, I think it is a, so I think it's a kind of a case study. Two questions came on a kind of post case study. So one was basically to find out what role each is playing, who is the data processor, who is the data controller, who is the data subject. And the next question was on, I think, breach. There is a data breach which has happened, and then you will have to report. So whom should you report? Whom should you report? Whether the European authorities or the state. I think it is Europe data, but processed in a different country, which is not a part of the GDPR. And then whom should you report or something like that? I think that was what. It was a bit lengthy question. Both the questions were a bit lengthy.
No.
I think the focus more is on all. I think one of their favorite topic is data forensics, data security, data breach, and risks. The top 25 risks or top 10 risks, and then GDPR. These questions they love to ask here and there in all throughout the exam.
Okay. يعني I think it is a direct question, but of course I know that it will be direct for me because I am already certified GDPR. Then I know it very well. I will tell you the answer of this question with a very simple way, gentlemen, to memorize it. It will be very easy. What is the difference between data controller, data processor, and subject? Data subject.
Data subject is the person whose data we are talking about.
Yes.
So if it is my birth details or my social security number, I am the data subject for that. Controller is the one who is having the who is collecting the data, and then who has the entire control, and he is responsible and accountable in case of in case if there is a data breach, or in case if there is a problem. A processor is one who is collecting.
He is a person who is collecting the data and he is responsible for its security.
Yeah, and a processor is one who is collecting the data on the instructions of the controller, and then he's processing it. That's it.
Not collecting. Not collecting. Collection of the data, it will be the function of data controller. But the processor, he will be the entity which it will process the data. يعني, for example, I am a mobile service provider, and I want to you want to have a mobile line from me. Then I ask for your name, for your email, and all this information. That's fine. You give it to me. I give you the line. We are happy. Everything is great. Then as a service, I mentioned I want to send invoices for the customers, but I don't have the resources to bring application, team, and all this stuff. Then what I have to do, I have to get a third party. This third party, we are professional in managing the application, print the invoices, and send it to the customers. Here, he did not collect anything. He will collect the data from the controller, print the invoices, send it to the customer. When this is the processor, when these are the three rules: subject, as you mentioned, it is the user which we collect his email. Controller, the entity which is collecting the information and he is responsible for it. Processor, who is process the data on behalf of the controller. On behalf of the controller. One question here. If the controller data is leaked from the controller, who should report the breach to the authority?
The controller should report the breach to the authority. Actually, the processor will
leaked from the processor, not from the controller.
Okay, yes, I think, sir, this was the question. This was exactly the question in my exam. So I think my answer is the processor cannot directly inform to the authorities. He will first inform to the controller. Controller will in turn inform it to the authorities and to the subjects also.
Yes, this is the right answer. Yes, this is the right answer. Processor, he is not allowed to speak with the authorities. Why? Because he is not the owner of the data. He is not accountable for the data. When someone, he will come and ask, okay, if he make a mistake, then this means that I have to be responsible for it as a controller, and he will be free without any obligations. You may have some contracts with him. You can have some financial penalties, whatever. This is something by contracts. By legal, no. It is the controller who will be responsible for it. It is the controller who will be responsible for it. Okay? What was the second question? You said the second question, what was it?
No, I think the second question was actually, it was a very confusing. It was like you are collecting the data and then that goes to one more person and then that is again sent to another person. So it was like steward was included. There is a terminology called as data steward. Then data controller, data processor, data subject. All the four roles were mixed together and it was said. So it was like four levels of processing. You are going, someone is collecting, but he is not doing any processing. He is giving to someone else who has got all the control, and that person is giving to someone else, third party, for processing of the data. Something like that, I think. I don't remember the question correctly.
Very simple, gentlemen. We have four main roles which you have to understand in the GDPR. You have subject, you have data controller, you have data processor, you have DBO. What is data BO?
I think data protection officer.
Data protection officer. The full responsibility is the DBO. He is the contact person between the organization or the controller and the authority. He is the one who should report any problems. He is the contact person for any subject if you want to ask about any information about their data. He is the one who is handling or make sure that the privacy data is protected and handled based on the GDPR laws and regulations. These are the four rules which you have to understand. Plus, it is very important to understand the PIA, privacy assessment. 1 minute, I am confused. BIA, not BIA. Privacy information
Impact assessment.
Privacy information assessment. This, it is the assessment which the organization, it will do it to make sure that.
Sir, is it information or impact assessment, sir?
Impact. You are right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. It's impact, yes. This is the assessment which you have to do to the privacy data to make sure that the security controls which you have in your organization are adequate to protect your information. Also, it is important to know the notice. And this is notice which I showed you in the footer of every side. This notice, it will consist of all the information collected from the subjects, why it is collected, what are the processes it will be used, what it will be done with this information, how it will be deleted, for how long the detection period, and so on. Also, don't forget in the GDPR that any breach should be reported within 72 hours for the authority. The other question, which it was mentioned, I remember the question when you said which authority it should be reported. Wherever any country you are in, we have representative for EU. Even if you are sitting in America, but you're still handling data for European Union citizens, then in any place in Europe, where, I mean in America even, then you have to report the case to the representatives, the representative authorities of the European Unions, not America. America has nothing to do here. I don't care about where is the breach happened. I care about the European Union. They have to know the authorities. In each location, we have an authority which represent the authority entity, which it will control all the laws and regulation for the EU.
Sir, I have a question here. Now, let us say there is a data breach happened. I am Microsoft and I have a data center in EU. There is a data breach. And then, that's a data. No, that's not a data breach. I'm sorry. I mean to say, I want actually the data which is stored in the European data center back to me. And I think then my question to you is that, then what is the point? It's an American organization who is having its data center in Europe territory, and then it wants its data to be back. You remember there was a case of the Microsoft actually.
1 minute, please. Please repeat. I am confused. Please repeat from beginning.
Okay, so the question here is that it is an American organization. The American organization has got data centers in all the regions. It
Okay.
wants a data back to US from a data center which is a part of EU, European Union. Can it do it or not?
I did not. يعني you are saying that you have American USA organization.
Yes.
Okay, and they have branches all over the world.
They have branches. They have got data center in all over the world. They
Okay.
want a data which is actually residing in a data center which belongs to European Union.
Okay. Okay. This is a tricky question, yeah, Prem. You are asking about the permissions of transferring data from one entity to other.
Exactly, sir. Yes. This was the question also for me.
Okay. GDPR mentioned that there are some locations where data it can be transferred without any restrictions. What are these locations? Number one, EU countries, all of them under GDPR rule. Second, some specific countries which are classified as the privacy law equivalent of the GDPR. America, it's not one of them. America, it is not one of them. The other countries, frankly speaking, I cannot remember them right now. These are the countries which are trusted by GDPR that I can transfer the data between the European Union countries and these countries without any problem. If you want, as a business, to transfer the data between European Union countries and other countries which is not classified as one or two, then there will be some what we can say agreements. Some agreements. If they will do it to ensure the privacy of data and all this stuff, then this it will be allowed. I'll tell you something, gentlemen. Before going, if this type of questions which you may have, I'm not sure about this, but let me share my desktop here. You have to pay additional money for this, gentlemen.
Are you saying we need to undergo your GDPR training? I think it is important.
Yes.
So.
No, it is for free, by the way. I am searching for it now.
By the way, this is a very favorite topic for ISC Square.
Here you are. Day 1, day 2, day 3. All these informations which...
Sir, we can't see the screen.
You cannot see it?
Yeah, we are seeing the whiteboard only. So, sir, how do we have access to this one, sir?
This is for free. You can access it without any permissions. This is published over the group. Here.
This is your course, Mr. Usama?
This, the first one. This is the first one. The
No, I
second.
mean, this is your course.
Yes, these are my courses.
Hello? Okay, and English or Arabic?
Wallahi, I cannot remember, Mahmoud. This is a good question. Frankly speaking, I cannot remember. But even gentlemen, if it's English, if it's Arabic, read the slides. Slides are written in English, and this it will be very helpful for you. Day number 2. Here you are. Do we have any playlist for it? Yes, playlist here. It is a playlist, GDPR. Okay. Then I can access it as a playlist. How can I take a copy of the blacklist to share? Share here. Okay, WhatsApp, that's fine. Open. It is ISO. No, it is not ISO. It is CCSP. Here you are. This is a playlist for the this course for the GDPR. This it will be very helpful and useful for you. You will find all this information in very simple English language. If you find it in Arabic language, gentlemen, please go through the slides. I have the slides. I wrote everything in the slides in English language, but the description, it may be only in Arabic. Okay.
Sir, I checked. Actually, it is in English only. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is in
very much.
English.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in English only.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Thank you so much. Actually, at least some 3 to 4 questions we will be able to now, I think,
Yeah, because all these questions which you mentioned, you will find the clear, because this is based on the GDPR materials, by the way. Yeah, this is based on my certification in the GDPR. Then I developed based on the GDPR. Then I'm quite sure that this it will have full details of the information which if you require it. Yeah. Fine. Okay, that's great. Let's continue this topic because I don't want to leave it open, and then we can stop later for the audit planning. For the audit planning. The audit planning, gentlemen, it is very important to know what do you want to do. It is very simple. Just you have to define. Now, خلاص, I don't want to hear any other word. When we will say, what do we need required for planning? First, what think objectives. What the second thing? What the second thing?
First is planning, scoping, audit charter.
Objective and scope. Conduct the audit. Finally, learned lessons. This if you want to plan it. Then objectives, you have to define the management priorities and risk acceptance to understand how the audit it should go. You have to define format of the audit reports. You have to define if there is any other deliverables, for example, some evidence about the findings. And you have to define the number of the staff required for the internal audit. You have to define who are the resources which are required with you in the audit for application, for services, for network, for infrastructure, and so on. This, it is very important. You have to understand that audit, it can be conducted for different purposes and audiences, as we mentioned. I can do it to ensure that this it's compliance with regulations and laws, or compliance with organization policies, or it is compliance with GDPR, or compliance with NCA regulations, and so on. In some situations, gentlemen, you may find conflict of similar requirements. You may have, for example, GDPR. You want to make sure that you are GDPR compliant, and you want to NCA requirements. NCA, it has a part of it for privacy. Then you will find overlap. You will find overlap. In some situation, the authorities, it will tell you, I don't care if there is overlap. I want to have a dedicated audit for me. Then that's fine. I don't have anything to do. But if they are flexible and they said, okay, we can accept the results from other audit, then this means that you can utilize other audit, which it was done by third party, and you can take these results and it can be added in the report. And this, of course, it will save money for you, because the external audit, instead of doing 10 objectives, or he will check 10 things, you will tell him, no, I'm really sorry, please remove these parts, because these points we did it in other report or in other audit, and it is covered in other audit. I want you to do this only. It is 50% of the work. When this, it will save time, money, resources, and so on. Okay. The second thing, you have to define the scope. What are the services? What are the products? What are the steps and procedures which you have to follow? And what is the change management process which it's required? And if it's if it's done properly or not, if you have a change management process, if it's managed properly in the organization, and it's doing the exercise effectively or not. Also, how the communication between all the parties who are involved in the audit, between the audit team, between the cloud customer, between the cloud provider, and so on. What will be the criteria and metrics for effectiveness of the controls? For example, we will say, okay, gentlemen, I installed the controls for these objectives. Then I will compare the real effectiveness of the control with the objectives. If they are matching, then this is effective. If it's not, then this means that we still have some problems which it should make fine-tuning, or it can be considered as a findings. What will be the physical access and location where the people who are reside, the systems where the systems are reside, where the audit will be reside. In some situation, it will tell in some United States federal government contracts, we have a requirement that you must be physically be located and present within the borders of the United States to work on or interact with systems. This, it will be a requirement, but with cloud service provider, it cannot be possible, and it can be considered as what we can say restrictions. Also, the previous audit. It is very important, if you have a previous audit, to have a look on it and to understand what was the situation. You have to define the remediation. Remediation, of course, it is not your part as an auditor. It is a part of the organization. When it will receive the report, then it will check what are the findings, and it will try to make an action plan for remediation. Reporting, what is the type of the reporting which you required, and how it will be presented, what will be the format, is it required for internal organization, it is required for laws and regulations, it is required for any other authority, and so on. What will be the timing? It is very important. As we mentioned, don't never ever arrange an audit during rush time or a peak business period, because this it can affect your performance. Now we define objective, define scope, conduct the audit. Finally, you have to make the learned lessons. What are the learned lessons here? The audit duplication or overlap, the one which I explained it to you. In some situations, gentlemen, you may need to have two different audits because you are dealing with two different entities. I want to make it GDPR, but at the same time, I am based in Saudi Arabia and I want to make the NCA regulation. Then I have two audits. Although they are overlapped because both of them are related into privacy, I want to make sure that these audits, it can be overlapped or it can be integrated. Where, for example, NCA, we will accept the GDPR objectives, it will be covered, or findings, it will be covered the NCA. Then this means that you saved the audit for the NCA, or at least you saved part of the time. Part of the audit. Also, what will be the data collection process? Is it practical? Sometimes situation, gentlemen, when you are working in auditing, you will be afraid that the data which I collected is not enough. Then you will try to collect more and more data. This it will not be a good approach in a cloud service provider, because this it will be data for multiple tenants, and this it can represent a problem for you and for the data cloud provider. When you have to understand very well the data which you are collected and what are the data which it should be collected, and to understand if these are findings, if there's any findings, how you will prove these findings, and so on. You have to evaluate the report, of course, as we mentioned, the report which the customer, he will tell you, I need it for a specific entity. When you know that this entity requires specific information, then you will provide it to them. Also, you have to check if the scope, it is designed properly, because in some situation, usually what is going on, people, they are auditing some services, but these services, it has outsourcing services, we have dependency services, we have some service which is integrated with it, and the auditor, he may not know about this. When after the audit, he will discover that these data are missed, then this it will be considered as a problem. Or the customer, he gave him more information and he collected a lot of data which is considered as represent risk, and unfortunately this data, it was not helpful for him. When he spent a long day for collecting this data, although it was not helpful, then he have to understand, do I choose the right scope? Do I choose the right scope or not? If it's not, then you have to find during the scope for the next audit. Finally, the staff and the expertise. You have to make sure that the staff and the auditors, they are qualified. Also, the staff from the customer who is working with the auditors, they are qualified to provide them the data which they require and all the information which they require them to be able to collect the data and to collect the findings to prove that if they are compliant or not. Although now it is still 9:35, but I prefer to stop here because the other topic, it is totally different. And again, I don't like to start it as a separate part. It is related to the risk management. Then I prefer to complete this part tomorrow. I think, gentlemen, I think tomorrow it will be our last day. I think so. I'm not sure. It depends upon our pace, but I think tomorrow, I think this it will be our last day. Any questions?
I'm good.